1990. Hell of a year for films if you ask me. But specifically, today we're going to talk about my top 10 favorite horror films from 1990. Let's get into it. Welcome back to the Ectoviolence channel. My name is Alec, this is Darwin and Yoshi. Today I'm going to be talking about my top 10 favorite horror movies from 1990. Now before we get into that list, let's talk about 1990 in general. We had Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Back to the Future 3, Total Recall, Home Alone, Wild at Heart, and Goodfellas. I mean, that's a pretty solid year if you ask me. Without further ado, let's get into the top 10. The number 10 spot goes to The Exorcist III. This is an interesting movie. A lot of people don't like the second one, and I'm kind of in that boat myself. And I've only seen the third one like twice, but this one's solid. There's one scene in particular now that people will talk about that I'm not even going to mention just because I don't want to spoil anything for you, but this movie works. At least more than the second one. It's interesting and weird, and what's really cool is it was directed by William Peter Blatz, who wrote the novel for the original movie. Either way, if you haven't seen this one, highly recommend checking it out. Coming in at the number 9 spot, Flatliners. Flatliners I didn't see till much later in life. I picked up the Blu-ray. So anything with Kiefer Sutherland, I'm inclined to check out at least once. Then you've also got Julia Roberts, William Baldwin, Oliver Platt, and Kevin Bacon. The Baconator, as we used to call him in the mid-2000s, you know? That was a long time ago, 20 years ago. 1990 is closer to 2005 than we are. Anyway, Flatliners is fun. Like, it's I'll give you this. It's more of a thriller, or of a psychological thriller, sci-fi thriller, you know, something in there. But it's directed by Joel Schumacher, who did Lost Boys. I love Lost Boys. This is one of those ones I actually haven't seen the reboot, but I heard that Kiefer Sutherland was in it, so I don't know. Might be interested in that. The number 8 spot. This one is going to be Predator 2, starring Danny Glover, Bill Paxton, and Gary Busey. This is actually one of my favorite Predator movies, and I don't know, depending on who you talk to, that might be a hot take, but whatever. Nonetheless, Predator 2 is a fun sci-fi action thriller with these like very violent tones. It just rules. And obviously, you know, it's not as good as Predator, the first one, right? But number 7 on my list is going to be Arachnophobia. Now this one stars Jeff Daniels, John Goodman, Harley Jane Cusack from House on Sorority Row, Frances Bay from like Twin Peaks and Happy Gilmore. What I find interesting now is this was the first film produced by Hollywood Pictures, the subsidiary of Walt Disney. They'd go on to release Encino Man, the Super Mario Brothers movie, In the Army Now, House Guest, Dead Presidents, Jack, The Sixth Sense. But anyway, Arachnophobia is full of practical effects, tons of real spiders, and I'm just itchy thinking about it, you know what I mean? That is true terror still to this day, just because it works. And it works well. Come to think of it, I am due for a rewatch, but damn, do I need to like have one of them back scratchers on me and shit, you know? Coming in at number 6, the Night of the Living Dead remake, directed by Tom Savini. Now this thing rules. I feel like this movie gets the credit it deserves, you know, from most horror fans that I've talked to. This is an incredible movie, an incredible remake. You know, I'm due for a rewatch of this too, like, it's been a long time, but either way, this one's awesome, and Tom Savini is a master. I just love that guy. Coming in at number 5, Jacob's Ladder. Now this is a very weird movie, very strange. It has a lot to do with like coming back from the Vietnam War and being really mentally unstable because of it. Also, how the government treats people, and then there's like a bunch of creepy ghosts and shit, and there's this one scene in particular that's burned into my skull, and it reminds me, it's like the same vibes and feelings I get when I watch Fire in the Sky. The scene, the abduction scene when he's in the operating scene and all that from that movie reminds me of the scene in this one when he's being pushed around that hospital. There's just like organs that the tires squeaking over and shit. And it stars Tim Robbins. Tim Robbins, you'll know from at least Shawshank Redemption, right? Fantastic actor, and human being. Pretty funny and high fidelity as well. But I digress. This is a super weird one. It's a little out there, but please check it out. Number 4. This one's going to be kind of a bit of a cheat, but it's going to be It, the TV miniseries, which I just consider a movie, let's be honest. Sure, it's a 3-hour movie, but overall, I like it better than the new ones. The first one of the new ones was really good. The second one, it's not bad, you know, it's just It's not as good as the first one, and in my opinion, not as good as the original miniseries here. This is something that I did see as a child, and it did terrify me, but in a great way, because there was also stuff I found funny. And the cast, you know, they're so recognizable, like Emily Perkins went on to appear in stuff like Ginger Snaps and Juno. And Tim Curry as Pennywise, like, you know, people always say, you can tell a lot by someone by what they know Tim Curry from. It's like, bitch, I know him from like 400 things. Like as a kid, I never put it together that he was in Home Alone, also that he was Pennywise, or that he was in The Wild Thornberrys. None of that was relevant to me. In the number 3 spot, one of the big franchises, Child's Play 2. This might be, you know, the best Child's Play, objectively. Subjectively, I would say Bride of Chucky is, you know, my favorite. But Child's Play 2 is great. This is like, if you just want to throw in a Chucky movie, a classic Chucky movie, this is a good one. Because the first one is awesome. It's legendary. But with 2, the tone is similar enough. It's amplified a little bit. You get more Chucky because you don't have to deal with all the setup and the anticipation and the eventual reveal. Well, to be honest, you do have to deal with a little of that, but it's worth it. And I'll never not be a big fan of the Child's Play movies. It's one of my top franchises, so. The number 2 spot, Tremors. Another Kevin Bacon movie. He's on this list twice. Now, Tremors is horror in the same way that Jaws is, you know. It's not strictly horror. It's a little adventure, a little action-y, a little thrillery. And thriller's just kind of basically a subgenre of horror, right? So, but this is one of my favorite movies of all time. Saw it for the first time eating a Pizza Hut personal pan pizza in like a summer on like a night. It's like just golden outside. The pizza just arrived and I'm watching underground worms try to eat Kevin Bacon. This is everything to me. I think Tremors is, man, it's overlooked from time to time. People who know it well and love it though. Now the thing is, they did turn it into a crazy franchise like they often do. I've only seen the second one and the third one maybe. I don't know, how many they made, like 7, 8, or 9, and a TV series. Haven't seen that. But this first Tremors movie, banger. Absolute classic. And finally, the number 1 spot. The best horror movie of 1990, in my opinion. Gremlins 2, The New Batch. Now, I've done a whole video on Gremlins 2, The New Batch. I reviewed the VHS. And then I made a video on the Gremlins 2 VHS differences from the theatrical version and other home releases. In Gremlins 2, I think people are either gonna like get this movie and love it or not. If you saw it as a kid, it's one thing. That might break that barrier, but I think this movie's like a genuine masterpiece. Like, it is genre bending. There's so many different stories and plot lines. Grandpa Fred is one of the greatest characters in cinematic history. I'll say it right now. You've got Christopher Lee, you've got Howie Mandel, obviously Zach Galligan and Phoebe Cates. You know, Joe Dante returned to direct. Speaking of, I think I'm gonna do a video pretty soon on another Joe Dante film. Not as horror related, but still very related to Gremlins. Small Soldiers. I think that one's highly underrated. Great film. Anyway, Gremlins 2, The New Batch, it's like, this was doing a weird meta thing within itself. It had so many interesting elements explored within it. I don't even know where to begin, you know? It's a horror film, right? It's a horror comedy. And for me, it is just so comforting to watch. Because the first Gremlins, I like to watch every year on Christmas. So I spend the whole year kind of like just waiting to watch it around that time. Gremlins 2, if like during the summer, I'm like, shit, I have a Gremlins fix. I can watch Gremlins 2. Interestingly enough, they made an HBO Gremlins show, Secret of the Mogwai or whatever. Didn't watch it. I just didn't like the look of the animation. And I don't know. I know how that makes me sound, but maybe I'll get around to it eventually. Anyway, that's my top 10 horror films from 1990. Let me know your top 10 in the comments down below. There's things I left out. There's still stuff I haven't seen, like Frankenhooker. I haven't seen any of the Basket Case sequels, and I think 2 or 3 came out this year. I think Slumber Party Massacre 3, Leatherface 3, Texas Chainsaw 3, come on, this is my list. And if you like this video, be sure to check out this one and hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching.